The first thing I would consider doing is bumping your FOV up to around 105 to 100. I know people usually play around like the 90s, so anywhere from 95 to 110 should be good. I play at 105. It's just comfortable and it looks good on my desktop. So the next thing you want to look at is your sensitivity. I usually play on a 6.6, but I would bump this up to at least 2 from my stats. 8.8 is needed. There's so much movement in the game, and you're gonna need to be able to snap onto enemies. So if you're also worried about ADS like speed, like you're worried about it being too fast, you can go over to aiming sensitivity multiplier and play around with this ADS sensitivity multiplier. I play with it on a 0.9. It just makes it a bit slower when you're going aimed on sight. I usually play on a 6.6 with the 0.9 on MW3. So yeah, play around with this. For aim curve, I believe that the best one will be dynamic for this game. So dynamic has an inverse or reverse S curve. So it starts off fast and it ends up slowing down towards the end. I think it's really helpful. This game has so much movement, as I said earlier, and you're going to need to snap onto enemies. So having this on dynamic would work. The next thing I would take a look at would be your HUD. So head over to interface and let's go to gameplay HUD. They have HUD presets here, and I like to play on mission interface. Reason being is it has a square radar, got the compass in the top, and yeah, it's just pretty clean. It's very similar to MW3. It usually comes in standard where you have the circle and everything's on the left side and it's clear up top. I feel like this has too much information on the top left. It also has the compass up there, and the circle does not display as much information as the rectangle, as you can see. So 100% go with the rectangle, and I would recommend mission interface for your HUD. The next thing I would check out would be the colors. So head over here, back in the HUD presets, go to colors, and yeah, you want to customize your color palette. So it's usually on like the base yellow here for you. I just go ahead and, well, not that one, but I just go ahead and pick the brightest one, which is usually in the bottom row. So it'll be here, go down to green, pick that one. It'll be, I believe, this red. I went down to a brighter red. And yeah, usually just try to make it the brightest color that you see, and totally customize this up to your liking. I would definitely do this. It helps, especially with party. It's usually on this like weird dark green, I think. Putting it onto this bright green helped a lot. Okay, a very important setting for movement would be, let's go back to controller, let's go to movement, and yeah, let's go to movement advanced settings. You would want to have single tap sprint on. This means on one tap, as you can see on the right, it'll make you tactical sprint. So you wouldn't need to double tap it every time to start a tac sprint. So yeah, make sure this is on, and it'll help you with moving in this game. So a tip for you is to create new builds if you're frying with a weapon, and instead of editing the current one. So you could come here, go to gunsmith, make changes, but if you're doing really well with this gun, I would say go to your gun, go to here, and say create a new build. From here you can start making a new weapon, so you can keep the old build that you have here whenever you want to go to it. So this is like creating your own custom blueprint, and it'll allow you to refer to it at any time throughout any class. So I can go to another class, and I can refer to that build that I just made. So yeah, make builds, keep classes that you're frying with, and make other presets when you can. For tip number 7, I would say it is important to run a 3 color perk scheme. The reason being is you get a specialist or a combat specialty here, which is a really good which is a really good perk to have. I'll show you a clip here of the one that I like to run, which is Recon, and it shows the enemies whenever you spawn in for about a second or 1 to 3 seconds, and it's really helpful in trying to gauge where your enemies are on the map. Enforcer is also good, but yeah, I don't think it's too needed. Reason being is the next tip will tell you guys why, but make sure you're running like a three tier or 3 color perk list. I would go with the blue one for sure. And then for tip number 8, I would go with perk greed, so you can throw on an extra perk of your choice. Okay, now on to tip number 9. We have stim shots. This is probably the most important thing in the beta right now. You're going to be getting tagged up a lot, and being able to stim and regenerate ASAP, especially with this movement. People are just running at you full speed at all times, dolphin diving at you. Yeah, you're going to be stimming a lot, and I'd say use this almost every single gunfight after you win or when you go to hide for a bit to regenerate. It regenerates your health almost instantly, so this is super important to have. First thing I want to say is take your time learning Omni movement. It is such a crazy new movement system that you're going to have to learn and get familiar with. You won't get it on the first game, you won't get it on the 5th game, and it'll probably take you around 10 games to get familiar with it. But yeah, we got 3 days remaining on the early access beta, 3 more days in the other beta. So yeah, don't worry too much. It'll come with time, as anything new does take. It takes time in order to master new movement. So you're gonna fall off the map a lot. You're gonna accidentally slide off. You're gonna dive off the map. It's gonna happen. It happened to me so many times, and don't worry about it. Don't be too hard on yourself with this new movement. With that being said, the new movement is very powerful, and the pattern or the patterns that you want to learn is slide canceling, which you can do by pressing your crouch and then your jump button immediately after. As I said earlier, right, keep getting enemies. So you can only tack sprint. You can only tack sprint going forward, but you can sprint in all the other directions. And this happens automatically once you start a sprint. So this happens automatically when you start a sprint. But if you start walking backwards without sprinting first, it will not initiate a sprint. So another way to do this is you can click while you're running backwards, click while you're running sideways, and it'll initiate a regular sprint, but it will not initiate a tack sprint. Tack sprint is only when you're running forward. Another setting that I forgot to mention earlier is going to be the hybrid slide dive behavior. So head over to movement and slide dive behavior and throw it onto hybrid. In order to trigger this, you're going to have to hold down your sprint button and click on your crouch button in order to dive. For sliding, as long as your thumb is not on the stick when you initiate the slide, it'll slide. So it'll be needed in order to perform these sideways slides, and it's less clunky than the tap to dive, or tap to slide or tap to dive, because you're gonna have to hold the button down for one of the others. So you can dive backwards with this, you can dive sideways, just by holding down the sprint button and clicking B. And yeah, it's a really helpful feature that I think you should integrate into your game. So in Black Ops 6, you now have a permanent melee. So hold your melee button and you pull out your melee. Let me come back here. So you hold your melee button, you pull out your melee, and this gives you unlimited attack sprint. You move faster, and I believe you one-shot your enemy. Let's see if we can pull one off. Oh. Yep, so you one-shot your enemies, as you saw there. And the last tip I have is be careful when you are aiming. So when you jump, you see how you have that big drop when you land? This will cost you gunfights for sure. So jump shotting is fine. If you're hitting them, if like you finish the fight while you're in air, or like a strafe jump works well because you're in the air longer. But let me try to give you an example here. Like that. So like strafe jumping is good because it allows you to hit them while you're in air, but be careful with jumping too much because that drop really can cost you gunfights. So those are all the tips I have for the Black Ops 6 beta. We have 3 more days left for the early release beta and 3 days more for the full release. So apply these to your game. I think they'll be really helpful. And learning how to slide cancel would be one of the biggest. You'll get omnimovement within the first few days. So don't be too frustrated with yourself and just have fun. This game is really fun. It took me a while to get used to it, but I really enjoy it. So enjoy the beta, guys, and I'll catch you guys on the battlefield.